and then lizard as well. Now let's just look at a couple of those. Let's need the book for that one. If you look at a lizard, I think there is a lizard trail here. No, it's not in this book. Anyway, a lizard has got the tail showing, and then it's got big feet and small feet. So there's a small foot there, actually a big foot there, and a small foot there. So alternating big feet and small feet. What's the difference?
Back feet and
Back and front
rear are
feet.
large, front are.
Yeah, so the back ones, the hind ones are larger. And here you see basically similar sized impressions wherever they show. And with the lizard, it's very much alternate. It's alternate, the foot placement, whereas this is sub-opposite. It's almost opposite. It's just slightly stepped, sub-opposite. Much closer to an opposite foot arrangement than an alternate foot arrangement. Okay. And if you look closely in some of the areas, you can actually see individual smaller impressions, which are individual digits, as opposed to, well, the lizard's also got toes, it's got digits, but it's not one big thing. There's little things touching here. Okay. But it's tough. This is in thick sand. You can't see much of what's going on. You have to look at the overall impression. It's good to stand back and have a look and see, okay, I can see more or less an opposite foot arrangement as opposed to alternate, and they're similar sized. And then on closer inspection I can see a number of actual digits touching.
Yeah, and they're quite far from your tail.
So we get into the area of beetles and scorpions, into the arthropods. You see that kind of thing. Both will drag their tail or their abdomen, scorpion having a tail and the beetle having an abdomen. Both of them will drag them at times, and others at other times they won't drag it. In other words, they can lift the tail or the abdomen. Okay. The beetle, if we just look at the beetle print, Terry might want to see that. The tenebrae beetle, being an insect, it's got the 3 feet on either side of the body, total six legs. So 3 showing each side. And then the scorpion, it's an arachnid, so it's got 4 feet on each side of the body, 4 legs on each side of the body, total 8. But the 2 center ones fuse and they look like 1. So it's again groups of 3. The difference when you look at the diagrams is that this beetle makes the middle toe sticks out to the side. It's got an angular toe, kind of coming out at almost at right angles, whereas with the scorpion the feet or the toes are facing forward. And that's great on a flat hard surface, but in thick sand the scorpion engages 4x4 and he starts to labor in the sand, and you get feet going sideways again, similar to the tenebrae. So they look very similar to each other in the thicker sand, both of them dragging something. So what do we have?
I'll stick with scorpion.
We had calls for scorpion and also for beetle. Both of them have got a relatively sub-opposite foot arrangement. So it's not quite opposite.
Is this why it's lifted up and then dropped? I think that,
Yeah, what made me call mine, couldn't see any pattern here. And here's where I saw the pattern that I was looking for, which I think was
The tenebrae pattern. Charles, what did you see?
I went for lizard, but wrong.
Do you see that the groups of digits are similar
Opposite,
size?
Yeah.
They sub-opposite, but they're all a similar size. You don't have that
Mm.
front foot, back foot, and you don't have the alternate
Yeah.
foot placement.
Yeah.
Okay. Not much evidence to work with here, huh? What do you guys think?
I think lifting tail
Yeah. What about lifting tail?
over there from here to here in the shadowed part. I think if it was a beetle, it would have dragged.
Uh-huh.
And there's areas where it's lifted, and the beetle's abdomen doesn't lift as much when it's scraping. But I think it's also one of it could be either.
Yeah, the tenebronids, they're a large group of beetles which all have this foot placement with the middle toe going to the side.
Yeah.
The true tok-tokis in that group, they drag abdomen.
Yeah.
And then other tenebronids which are not tok-tokis, they don't have that
That's
pointed
pointed.
abdomen. So this one, if it were a beetle, the abdomen will drag.
No,
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that the scorpion can lift its tail
Yeah.
or not. The tenebronids, if they're dragging, that's their body shape.
and that's why I looked at the area that's not dragging over there.
So that's interesting that there seems to be no drag in a particular area here.
And especially because it's a raised area, you'd expect the abdomen to touch if it was a beetle. That's my thing, but as I say, that could have been covered over by something, could have been blown over. I mean, so many
Also, if you look over here, in this area, you've got toes touching here, and then right out on the outside some more. And again here, so you've got a separation, which is more of what you see in the scorpion, where there's quite a broad separation between the toes, whereas with tenebronid everything's close together. And I agree that Tiz has seen some wayward pointing toes here, but remember what I said about thick sand. When that scorpion engages 4x4, the toes are going all over the show.
You're saying always drags. If it drags, it always drags.
The species of tenebronid, now Tenebronidae is a family of beetles, large family. The species that are the actual darkling beetles, the tok-toki ones with the rounded abdomen, yeah, they should by default drag abdomen. Yeah, they can lift, clearly they can lift to tap,
but
that's what they
not
do.
in movement.
But I think when they're moving, it's got to be down. Whereas other tenebronids, they've shown one here which is not a tok-toki, but it is a tenebronid, that's not going to drag at all, and hence they don't show a drag mark there. So I see scorpion evidence here. I don't see tenebronid in this, to be honest.